This is Laricy Live, and I'm your host, Matt Laricy. We're giving you unfiltered access to the world of real estate, where we can cover the market trends, news, and honest answers to keep you ahead of the real estate game. Laricy Live is brought to you by Lincoln Title. Lincoln Title is the best and most efficient title company in Chicago and is the best place to close your property. This podcast is brought to you by Titan Builders. Titan Builders have been remodeling condos and homes in the Chicagoland area for over 35 years. Whether it's remodeling your kitchen or bathroom or getting your home ready for sale, Mike and Mark are your go-to guys. Laricy Live is brought to you by Guaranteed Rate and Ben Cohen. Ben Cohen is the #1 lender in Illinois and can close your loan in as fast as 8 days. So today, we are here to talk a little bit about what I'm calling the dog days of summer, right? We are at the end of summer. We're heading into August. This will probably come out in the first week of August. So I'm telling this in the past for everybody out there. But, you know, I call August the dog day of summer. It's, statistically speaking, the worst month for us for contracts pending every year. True fact, I have more deals. I put more places under contract in December than I do in August every year. And people are always like, well, I think December is going to be a slow month. It's like, actually, December's pretty busy because a lot of people have March leases, which I talk about all the time, or even April leases, and people want to get a leg up on the spring market. And a lot of people are super slow in December because it's holiday season, so they buy. Or, you know, Chicago's an international city, so people like, you know, from China or India or like, you know, Asia region or Europe region, and their families aren't here, and they, you know, either can't afford or don't have the time to travel back home. Like they don't really have anything to do in December, right? Like you got not like it's slow, right? 2 weeks a year just completely gone in December. So, you know, we're actually pretty busy in December, and we do a lot more sales. But in August, you can't nail anybody down. It's just a slower market. So, you know, you have the what I call the pre-4th of July market, and you have the post-4th of July market. And the post-4th of July market is a little bit different than the pre-4th of July market. Pretty much you could think from July 5th till December 31st. So from July 5th to December 31st, every single day. So every day that goes by, the market shifts a little bit more towards a buyer's market, okay? So once you hit January 2nd, it's like, you know, balls to the wall, market takes off, it's crazy, okay? That's going to be your best time of year is January 2nd to the end of May. June, July are decent, okay? Then all of a sudden the market shifts completely in August. And that's why we're calling this the dog's day of summer, because it is a little bit different. You can, when I talk to sellers out there to prepare them for, you know, where the market's going, and one of the reasons why we always do really well in the front part of the year is that I have a lot of sellers that call me literally in February and March and say, hey, Matt, we want to sell. We're thinking we want to, you know, sell during the best time of year. And I always joke, I'm like, when do you think the best time of year is? And I always like, I don't know, like, you know, like July, August, September, you know, weather's nice, et cetera, summertime. And I'm always like, this is like the worst time for you to sell. Like, get on the market, like rush it. So we rush these people, get on the market, they sell. We usually work out a close date that works out for them. And then, you know, I show them. So like all my people out there that I kind of pushed to go earlier, I show them their unit that's on the market now that hasn't sold right away for lower than what they would have, you know, sold for in the early part of the year. So we try to save people money. And it is a totally different market. The post-4th of July market is totally different. So what are some of the things that we're seeing and things that we're going to continue to see as we head into August here? Well, deals dying. Deals dying is a huge one. We see more cancellations than ever in this time of year. In fact, I forget which website it was. Did you post that? Somebody posted that. Maybe it was the girls posted that, about cancellations. Cancellations hit like pretty much an all-time high in the last couple months. And people are wondering like what it is. Is it the economy? The economy's crushing it. Is it, you know, whatever reason it is. My take, which I think is probably the right take, is just the fact that, you know, when you're in a really, really, really hot market and then it starts to shift another way, people start second guessing. And one thing I do know is that when people don't understand things, they get mad. And what happens when you get mad is you just give up. You know, that's how a lot of people act. And in the front part of the year, and you're in such a hardcore seller's market, like, you know, money doesn't matter, comps don't matter, things take off like a rocket ship. You're like rushing in there. There's no options. You got to go balls to the wall. You got to get it. Like, you just got to get it done. And then all of a sudden, when we start hitting June and we hit the summer shift and the market starts to turn a little bit, buyers start kind of second guessing a little bit. They're like, well, wait a second. In March, I had one option, and there was one option that came up in a month. And now we're in July, and 10 options are coming up a week, you know? So that's literally what happens. You have one in March that comes up in an entire month of March, and in July you have 10 properties that come up that you could have bought this week. So that's a big difference. So you're talking about maybe one a month compared to maybe 40 in a month. And then, buyers start second-guessing themselves. Well, is the grass greener on the other side? Did I make a decision? Did I maybe overpay for it? My friend just got more money off than I thought I got off. So people get cold feet, they get in their head, and they cancel deals. And when you have that shift, right, when you go from that pre-fourth to the post-fourth marketplace, the mentality shifts. I tell people all the time that real estate's a game. Those people who know how to play win. The people who don't lose, okay? And the winners will understand what to expect throughout the year. And as we enter into the post-fourth market, that first month, that first 4 to 6 weeks, cancellations will be at a high for the year, okay? And that's what we're seeing right now. And in August, we can expect to see a lot of buyers start to second-guess themselves. Because don't forget, as we leave August, we enter into September, we're going to hit the fall market. And fall buyers are different creatures than summer buyers, okay? Remember, there's 4 types of buyers: spring buyers, summer buyers, fall buyers, holiday buyers. Each one act differently. Spring buyers, they're going to go swimming. I talk about this example all the time. I'm talking about it again. Spring buyers are going to go swimming. Pool opens up. They jump right in. No questions asked. They just go. Summer buyers get their bathing suit on, circle the pool, dip their toe in, cautiously jump into the pool. Fall buyers get their swim trunks on, circle the pool, put their toes in, get their piggies in there, right? Sitting in there. Then they decide they don't want to get in the pool. Holiday buyers, they get their bathing suit on, circle the pool, tell everybody they're going in the pool. They just love to tell everybody. They're telling everybody, I'm jumping in. I'm jumping. All their friends are in the pool. They're like, I'm jumping in. And then they just decide to leave, So that's the way to kind of look at it. And that's how these buyers are. And if you understand the mentality of how these buyers act, it'll be easier. You can shut that door. It's fine. It's not going to come up here. Jamie just came back in the office, or she's back from her maternity leave. So she's finally working again, although she did work from home yesterday, which I think she took a day off already, but that's fine. But that's why we're going to see high cancellations and understanding the different attitudes in the marketplace. And one thing that also affects the marketplace is when buyers' attitude shifts, that affects listings, right? So if buyers are canceling more, sellers are going to start getting more and more frustrated. So what sellers are used to is seeing their friends sell in a day. And that's a big problem. And when sellers sell in a day, and then, in March, and then they have the same exact unit come on the market, and they sit on for a month, sellers get frustrated. So let's give an example. Let's say that, you got a 3-unit building, okay, and you sell the middle unit, and the middle unit sells first day on the market, came on at $450, sells first day on the market for $500,000. The neighbor building, because it's South Chicago is, the neighbor building, same exact type of building, middle unit comes on at $500,000 in August, and it sits for a month. That seller is yelling at their agent all the time, be like, what are you doing wrong? Because my neighbor sold in a day, and I've been on the market for a month. Like, you suck at your job. So now there's more pressure in the marketplace, and that pressure gets put onto that agent, and then what does that agent do? They deflect. They put that pressure onto all the other agents that come there, and then that creates worse attitude. And then that agent, that buyer's agent, if they're not a strong enough person, they take that pressure, and what do? They push it onto the buyer. So then now we start seeing people getting like a lot more nasty towards each other. Energy is contagious, right? So if you have negative energy in the air, more people are going to be negative. You have positive energy in the air, more people are going to be positive. It's just how it is. So that's why we see the market in the back half of the year start to kind of shift. So we have to understand this is the mentality where we're heading in. If you understand it, just know that people are going to be a little bit testier. You'll be fine. But the other thing to kind of know about with this different type of energy is also understanding we're heading into what people are going to start thinking is going to be a market that's going to start to collapse. And it's going to start being what I call the Chicken Little syndrome is going to start up, right? So Chicken Little syndrome is like the sky's falling, the world's going to end, right? So I'm telling everybody out right now, and the girls out there that are watching this, clip this. Save this clip. Save this clip. It's July 31st right now. So it's July 31st. I'm going to say it again so we can't miss it. July 31st. You will not be able to miss this. Because when I post this in October, I want everybody to be like, I told you so. Because I tell everybody what's going to happen. Nobody listens to me. Then it happens, and people are like, how did this happen? I'm like, well, go watch my podcast. I said exactly what happened. So here's what's going to happen. Starting in September till December, every buyer is going to start saying, well, prices are falling, okay? The market in 26 is going to crash. And I'm going to be like, why do you think the market's going to crash in 2026? And be like, well, I see prices drop. It's like, okay, well, like, what do you mean? Like, well, I saw a place that sold in March for $500,000, and that place is now on the market today, and it just closed for $450,000. So that dropped by $50,000. So this is why I know the market's crashing. I'm like, so you know? They're like, yeah, I know. What kind of data points you have behind that? They're like, that. I'm like, okay, well, here's a great stat to kind of know about. Right now, year to date, certain markets from January till July are up 12%. So price growth is up 12% in a lot of parts of the city right now, okay? In the back part of the year, from July till December, they're going to go down probably 6 to 7%. And we'll probably end the year in those hot markets in that 5 to 6% growth. So what happens is in the first 6 months of the year, prices grow at the quickest pace. And at the back part of the year, prices drop at the quickest pace. And then it all evens out. And that's how we end up with a 5 to 6% growth. So here will be a good example. Somebody comes on the market, Lincoln Park. Okay, let's use the Simplex example again. Simplex comes on the market, Lincoln Park, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Day of love, right? Comes on, $500,000. Day one, gets 20 offers on it, sells at $600,000. But it's February, so what do the sellers want? Sellers want a longer close, so it closes out in May, right? Let's say May 14th, just make this easy. Longer close. So place came on at $500 on Valentine's Day, closes on May 14th, $600,000, right? Most sellers are a day late and dollar short. They think the best time to sell is May, June, July, and August, right? So they come on, the neighbor, who's got a Simplex right next door, okay, comes on, interviews a bunch of agents in July, says, hey, I want to list my place. What do you think it's worth? And you'll get somebody like me that will say, I think it's worth maybe like $525, and they'll be like, my neighbor sold at $600. I'll be like, yeah, it was listed at $500 though, so I think it's worth about $525. And then they'll talk to some rook agent or somebody that doesn't really know the market as well, and they'll be like, hey, I think it's worth more than $600. And the seller's gonna be like, yeah, I know too. Like, I think my place is worth more than Steve's place. And Steve got $600 in May. I think the market's gone up. It's now July. Let's ask $625. So he comes on the market mid-June. Just use easy dates. Comes on the market mid-July. So he comes on the market July 14th, okay, at $625. Doesn't sell. Market shifted. Things are changing. August 14th rolls around. He's like, all right, we're not selling. Let's drop it down to $600. I'll match my neighbor's place. Mine's better, but I'll match it. Doesn't sell. September 14th rolls around. He's like, you know what? I really want to get rid of this before we head into the holiday season. Let's drop it down to $575. Now I look like a discount. Now I'm $25,000 on the neighbor. And then when you go on tours, you get the listing agent. She's like, hey, we're selling for less than the comps. It's like, well, what's the comp? It's like, well, the one neighbor sold at $600. And then I look it up. It's like, well, they're listed at $500 and they sold at $600. So it's not really less than the comps, but okay. And then October hits. He's still on the market. Goes to $550. And then it finally ends up closing, right after Thanksgiving for $525. So then the buyer's going to look at me and they say, hey, Matt, see, this is my example. They were listed, the one neighbor sold May 14th at $600. This guy just sold right after Thanksgiving for $525. It's a $75,000 decrease. You tell me I'm wrong on that. Like, well, here's what happened. Place came in the market at $500,000 in February on Valentine's Day. It was worth $510 maybe, okay? They had 1 million bids, because that's the hottest time of the year. You have no inventory. One guy overpaid for it, okay? So one guy decided he was going to give $600. One person overpaying for a property doesn't reset the marketplace. And what happens in the fall, so end of Q3 and 4, is the market resets itself to where it should be, okay? And what you start seeing close in, end of Q3 and 4 is where the market really should have closed in the spring. And that brings prices down a little bit. So that's when we start seeing the market kind of shift a little bit. And you start seeing these prices drop. So when you're out there telling me that you think 26 is going to be a horrible market and you bring these examples to me, I'm going to tell you, look at what it was listed at, not what it closed at. Look at what it was originally listed at. And know that it was probably worth a little bit more than that. And know that if it got bid up, that doesn't reset the marketplace. If anybody recalls, we go back to some of the podcasts, in October of 24, when I told everybody that spring of 25 would be the best market since 22, I think I said it like 1,000 times. And every publication said I was an idiot and I was wrong. And now what do all the numbers say? This spring in Chicago was the best market since 2022. How did I predict this? It's very easy. The stats are clear. The data is there. Watch for the trends. So when you're thinking about the market shifting and understanding stuff, what you have to know is, yes, we're going to see more negative attitudes, and we're going to see some of these prices drop, and that's just what happens in the dog's day of summer. And you have to be prepared for this. So if you're a buyer out there that kept getting outbid, that you're sick of, not seeing any inventory, and I don't know if any of my buyers actually watch this, but if you are watching this, there's at least 100 of you guys. Literally, I had 100 buyers that were looking that then rented, just as it happens every year to us. And I told everybody out there, just wait. If you don't like overpaying for stuff, or you don't like having to get in these bidding wars, from like July till December, you can do whatever you want. That same place will be on the market for cheaper. A place that comes on at $1 million gets bid up to 1.1. That place for $1 million and comes on now, it'll sell for like $1.010 million. Like it's a totally different market. So wait till now. So for people who want that deal, break your lease. This is the time. So instead of being negative about this and being like, well, 26 will be the time I'm going to get a deal because I'm watching the market now, don't be the person who calls me in February to start looking again after a year and being like, hey, I saw prices dropping because I saw these close in October and I expect to get that price, because now you're going to be buying in February pricing. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Real estate's a stock. It trades at different rates at different times of the year. Every single person that's listening to this, I guarantee you, will give me your life savings if I could get you 1980s Apple pricing. Can't get it for you. I got to pay whatever Apple's charging today, okay? And that's how real estate works. Peaks and valleys throughout the year. You want the peak? Buy during peak season. You want the valley? Buy during the valley season, okay? We're heading towards valley season. This is when you can get, the thing. What's the old saying? Buy the dip. We're heading into the dip. This is it. Don't buy into the hype of your friend telling you the market's going to crash because his buddy sold 2 properties in his lifetime, okay? Like, you got to get out of that mentality. What about things not selling as fast? So that's the other thing we have to watch out for, is that DOM, days on the market's about to build, okay? Real estate's not natural to sell one day on the market. It's never happened. It's not going to happen long term. It's never going to stick like that. So another thing is, like, during the dog's day of summer, is know that places that sold for a day or two in the spring, it's going to take 30 to 40 days, okay? And places that took 30 to 40 days are going to take 60 to 70 days. I expect market time to double from August till December. So I do believe we're going to have a fall push. I think September is going to be raging. I think September is going to blow August out of the water for sales. I think you're going to see, literally, mark my words, double the sales in September than you will in August. And you're going to hear all these people be like, how do we know that? Feds are probably going to make some sort of cut. The economy's bumping. Attitude's good. I think, because the economy is so great, more and more people are taking vacations. I'm sure everybody out there has somebody they know that is leaving in August, going somewhere extravagant. They got more money in their pocket, and so they're going to enjoy it. And in September, they're going to hunker back down and focus on buying again, which is going to lead to more sales. So we also have to understand is real estate's directly towards people, right? So it's related to how people act. So you also have to understand is, like, what else has happened in the geopolitical environments and the economic environments? How are people just acting in general? Like, if I talk to 100 people and they're like, yeah, I'm in, got 4 weddings in August, and everybody tells me that, I'm like, oh, well, that means that we'll probably be a little bit slower with the younger crowd, because that means more people must be getting married, right? Because how many people tried getting married during COVID and couldn't do it, so they pushed it to 25 and 26, and a lot of them pushed them out to 25 because it was cheaper, because 24 was too expensive still, right? So it's like, okay, well, they got more weddings this summer, so what's that going to lead to? It's going to lead to less people being around. If there's less people being around, guess what? There's going to be less demand. If there's less demand, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be less sales. So these are the things I look at. So it's basic, right? Am I wrong? It's true. So, yeah, I could talk fast. Like the micro machine. Remember the micro machines? Remember those guys? Like when you're kids? Yeah. So my point is that, like, you have to also understand how people act to try to understand, like, where the market's going to go to. So if you think there's going to be more fear in the market's going to pull back. If you think there's going to be more, like, chair in the market's going to go forward. So I do think September and October is going to be much stronger than usual. It's not going to be like February, March, but it's not going to be like last September, October, where we talked about the frightful fall last year because of the election. This will be a fall push. But do expect to see market time build even in that, even because that's happening. Other thing to watch out for this August, school. Kids are going back to school. All right, so that's also going to slow the market down. So when we talk about, like, what other factors outside of just, like, the economy and things, people with kids, they're kind of, like, busy at this point, right? Kids got camps. They're kind of getting done with. They're getting their kids ready for school. And you're like, well, how does that affect me? I'm buying a 2-bed, 2-bath. Well, here's how it affects you. People selling single-family homes. You couldn't find a single-family home in the front part of the year. It was like finding an elusive unicorn. Didn't exist. Now guess what? there's a lot of single-family homes. And why are they building? Because a lot of people just don't, like, they don't have the time to buy it. Like, as we head into August, like, a lot of people that were looking for single-family homes have kind of thrown the towel in. August, they're traveling to Europe for a week. Kids going, you know, they got the last thing at camp. They're getting the kids ready for school. Now they're like, well, I don't know if I want to move my kids for school. I didn't find it in time, and, like, I don't want to, like, pull them out halfway. I'm not saying that's everybody, but it's probably a quarter to half of your demand. So, right, we enter in June. We're going to cut demand by half. And now the other half that's remaining is going to pull out because it's too late. So now we're dealing with 25% of demand in August for single-family homes than we did in the front part of the year. And that applies to duplex downs as well, which is why I talk about it all the time. Selling a duplex down from October to December is like impossible. They don't exist January to March. They just don't. When one comes up, January to March, it's like I can't describe how quick they move. But a duplex down from, let's call it end of September to December, like good luck. Good luck. Look at the cancel ratio of how many of those come on the market and then don't sell, okay, in the fall time compared to the springtime. It's unheard of. But my point again is that these are all things you have to watch as we go into the dog's day of summer and understand that, like, this is just normal. This isn't like where people are going to, I don't want anybody posting out there like, oh my God, this means the market's going to end. I can't believe how bad it is. August is going to suck. Just understand it. And then September will be great. Do I have any more vacations? Yes. Going to Rosemary Beach, taking the family. Saturday, couple more days. One last hurrah before the kids go back to school. Second vacation, then Christmas. So, yeah, so that's even myself. It's like I know August is slower, so if I want to spend one last quality time with the kids, I know I could do it. I know that my business is going to end. I don't take a single day off from January 2nd till July 2nd every year because I know that that's when you make the hay. Like if I want to take off a couple of days in August to see my kids one more time before I don't see them again for 6 months, like I could do that, and like my business is going to fail. I do that in March, like our numbers are going to be far different at the end of the year. How am I feeling about the market as a whole for the summer market? What's my thoughts on it? I think the summer market's playing out exactly as we anticipated. We thought the summer market would be a little bit slower. The numbers show it. We thought inventory would rise throughout the summer, which it is. We thought DOM would rise a little bit, which it is. We thought there'd be a little bit less competition, which there is. We head towards more of a balanced market, which is great. The thing I didn't anticipate, so where I'm wrong, right? We can't talk about how great we are. We can talk about how bad we are as well. I did think that the downtown market would be better at this point. I did think we would see more people. Crime has a large part to do with it. I think still the lack of back to work has a lot to do with it as well. The just not believing in our leadership has a lot to do with it, because you have to remember too is like who's buying high rises, right? First time buyers, out of state buyers, in town buyers, international buyers. So people that aren't from here just don't believe in the city as much, which is affecting the high rise market. $2 million sale in the high rise, you may say, well, I'm not buying a $2 million place. Yeah, but your parents might. And if your parents buy a $2 million place in the high rise, guess what they do? Like, little Johnny's about to buy his first place. I'm going to get my $500,000 place like a couple buildings down from me, so we're still in the same neighborhood, right? It was a big portion. I thought that would pick up this summer. It is definitely better this summer than it was last summer, but it's not as good. I am very bullish on the downtown market coming back, but it is taking longer than I anticipated. And as we head in the fall, what do I think is going to happen for August and the fall? I've said it. I'll say it again really quick. I think we're going to have a really good September and a really bad August. We're going to see a lot of cancellations, a lot of pessimism. Negative energy catches on like a wildfire, but, it's going to be how it is, and it's like that every August. You want to know more about what's going to happen with the fall push, where we think is going to happen throughout the rest of the year? Stay tuned, listening to Laricy Live. Thanks for listening.